I don't think it's any secret that the quality of mechanics in Warhammer 3 is anything but consistent. There are some true masterpieces of game design that are genuinely some of the most fun you can have playing a strategy game. However, there's also some truly baffling slop that is, at best, totally forgettable, and at worst, actively unfun. Today, let's count down 10 of the latter and look at how we could fix them. And if you want to fix these videos so they don't have any ads, become a channel member for just $1 a month. All the same videos, none of the ads. So coming in 10th place we have Intrigue at Court and the others that do the same thing. Starting off light at number 10 with something that's probably fine for what it is, but I wish it was a whole lot more. Intrigue at Court is the high elf version of something that a couple of other factions have access to, and all it is relations manipulation at the cost of influence. You can change how factions feel about you or others, and that's about it. You can't decide if they'll act on this in any way or have a guarantee that they'll bend to your will, because all you are doing is changing a number on the screen. This is fine since it's not overpowered, but it really could be a lot more interesting. Now I don't think it should be as powerful as the changing of the waves from Tzeentch, but something similar to that with some less ridiculous actions would be great. Doesn't it make sense that a faction with a lot of influence will be able to open the gates of a rival faction, or even cause one faction to go to war with another? Maybe they can also force peace or even alliances between themselves and others. All of this, at least to my mind, is something a faction with a lot of influence should be able to do. You know, influence others. As is, it feels about as powerful as being a total war influencer. CA probably listen to me marginally more than the average player, but it's essentially being left on red compared to being ignored altogether. In 9th place we have the Great Bastion, another one that's kind of fine, but the more I think about it when playing, the less it makes sense. The Great Bastion is of course the 3 settlements making up the big old wall at the top of Cathay before the Chaos Wastes. Over the course of the game, the threat to the Bastion rises, eventually resulting in an assault from a faction summoned in from the ether to throw itself against the wall and try and take it. At best, it's a minor annoyance to keep doing these battles, at least until the Bastions are strong enough to win by themselves. At worst, it's a constant thorn in your side, meaning you can't move your armies where you want because you have to babysit the wall all game long. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely think that factions should attack the wall, but that's just the thing. I want factions. The armies beaming in from nowhere is just so out of nowhere and boring that it takes all the joy and thought out of it. My suggestion, first of all, have the Great Bastion be a single province with 3 settlements. I get that each of them being their own means you can harness their commandments earlier, however, counterpoint, their commandments are kinda suck, and doing it this way means you can make them much stronger without breaking the balance. Give the commandments actually powerful effects like game-changing army abilities and unit buffs when defending, then quicker and cheaper construction and faster global recruitment. Maybe toss in some landmarks in each gate to give a bit of variety and some powerful unique effects, and they're already better. As far as the threat level is concerned, I don't care if it gets attacked by other factions, but spawning some in is just lazy. If you wanted to keep the threat there, then have the max level cause some factions to declare war and make a beeline for the wall. Give them some buffs like the hostility mechanic from Marcus Wolfhart, and you're pretty much set. In 8th place we have Tomb King Pyramids. This one is because I've seen what they can be, and it is so much better than what we have now. If you're not aware, this is perhaps the smallest mechanic any faction has access to, because it's not really a mechanic at all. The Tomb Kings simply have the ability to build pyramid landmark buildings in a few settlements across the desert. They have some okay effects, but once built, that's it. You're done. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like this could be so much better, and I already know what to do as I've already seen it. The Tomb Kings Extended mod adds many things to the Dusty Chaps, but one of the most significant is a rework to how pyramids work. Instead of being simple landmarks, they work similar to the Deeps from the Dwarves. Once the initial building is complete, you unlock a whole new building menu where you can fill them with all kinds of buildings that offer exceedingly powerful effects for your faction. It even has some risk to it, as the higher tier buildings give you penalties until they reach their max tier, making it an actual risk to build them, and dare I say it, strategic? They're also very long-term projects with hundreds of canopic jars required and tens of thousands of gold to get to the max size. However, the investment really does pay off, making this one of the most engaging and rewarding mechanics on the market. So yeah, do something like this. Landmark pyramids are fine, but they could be so much better. In 7th place we have Chivalry. Honestly, you could take your pick from Bretonia of what to rework. They are somewhat of a rich tapestry of poor design and outdated ideas. However, Chivalry stands above the rest as it's just so bad. So, it's a bar that fills up and gives you kinda weak as hell effects, along with a disappointing summon. You fill it up by performing chivalrous actions such as slaughtering hostile factions without mercy, and you lose it by performing unchivalrous actions such as building, let's go with cuddle hotels. Like, I get it since this is essentially their dedication to the lady, but can it not be, you know, interesting? How about we change it so it is dedication to the lady, and then that opens up some more ways to gain and spend it, rather than just be nice. Maybe give us some buildings that generate favor for the lady, and some that consume it but provide more powerful effects. Maybe have lords with more powerful traits similar to the high elves that you can only recruit at the cost of favor. Have the levels be more of a scale with good and bad effects, and have it move around a lot more to keep things interesting. If all you do is sit on it all game long, it's not engaging, whereas if it's something like Skaven Food, it's a lot more fun as it changes over time. By all means, keep the Green Knight, but have him be a global army summon so you can bring him in when needed, instead of having him take up an army slot. Also, give him some buffs and make him feel like an actual legendary hero. Just give this mechanic more depth and motivation, rather than it just being something you tick up over the course of the game without really noticing anything changing. In 6th place, we have the Vampiric Bloodlines, and you know I had to get the vampires on this list somewhere. It's kind of funny how the one small rework the vampires got, and it is by far the worst mechanic they have. The current bloodline system allows you to spend blood kisses to upgrade bloodlines, which unlocks legendary lords for leading your armies, some minor effects for your faction, and that's it. Now, I like the idea of having vampiric bloodlines and having the legendary lords is a neat idea, but also, after you have the first lord from each line, do you really need that many more armies in your average campaign? So, my first proposed change is to instead upgrade these lords whenever you progress their bloodline. Go from this standard menu to an actual bloodline that's almost like a skill tree, but hopefully with less scroll bars. The first point starts you off, and then you have options of where to go. Maybe you can unlock some powerful unique spells for a caster lord, or a powerful mount for the Blood Dragon Lord. Just add something unique to each one that helps them and their playstyle. Add on some bonuses for their army that encourage you to build a specific comp with certain units, and I think you're onto something. As for faction effects, well, just slot them into the same tree, and you're all good. Have a couple of routes for the lord, and then branches coming off that are focused on the campaign. Maybe you can lay it out like a web if that helps, but just give us options and make them more engaging to play with. I believe a system like this with maybe 10 choices total per bloodline would make things a lot more interesting and engaging. And yeah, bump up the generation of blood kisses to account for the new costs, but you're using the mechanic more and seeing more of an effect from it. If you were feeling extra generous, you could give each bloodline a unique unit to unlock and upgrade, but I know who I'm asking, so I won't get my hopes up. Coming in 5th place, and we have Demonic Glory. Come on, you know I had to mention Dan the D-Man. He's perhaps the biggest fumble in the history of Total War Warhammer, with so much hype on the lead up to launch, all for it to come crumbling down the moment you play him and realize how he has one mechanic and it's not really a good one. I like building a demon, I like having all the units from Chaos, but good lord, was there no better way to do this? It doesn't all have to be one mechanic. And yes, surprise surprise, that's probably how I'd fix it, split this mess up a little bit. You can have it connected, but why compress it all into one place? So keep the Builder Demon because it's fun, but also let us have more than one Demon Prince. Be'lakor can make generic versions of them, so let Dan have a way to get them too, either through the same mechanic or something all his own. The minor Demon Lords can graduate to Mage Demons, so do that, but have them evolve into customizable Demon Lords that can only use parts from their respective branch of Chaos. Have the most elite parts be unique, but the lesser ones be reusable at the cost of some kind of currency. Next, for units. Simply, give them a tech tree. You can make it unique in that you can only head in certain parts once you have enough favor with each branch of Chaos, but just give the lad something to research and make it good. You unlock a few units, and then have a few options to upgrade them, and boom, sorted. Lastly, the little mechanics and upgrades he can earn over time. You can have these be in the shop alongside the reusable demon parts. He can buy temporary uses of mechanics from other factions for some currency, so you can use it when needed. To balance this out, give him some better mechanics, such as full bloodletting from Khorne, crafting plagues from Nurgle, some limited changing of the ways from Siege, and army seduction from Slaanesh. This is honestly one I could live without because everything else is probably already enough to worry about. Daniel needs the most work out of anyone, so there's probably stuff I didn't even mention here, but I hope you can see the vision. Now in 4th place we have caravans, and they're getting so high because a few factions have access to them, and the only acceptable version is that way because the mother faction is so damn overpowered. The majority of the time they suck for one single reason: army composition. When you recruit a new caravan, they start with a painfully weak army, which means the first enemy army they come across, they get stomped before you can even move. This makes them worthless in the endgame as they simply cannot survive long enough to find new units through events. The simple fix would be to give them some kind of recruitment mechanic, and whilst you could do that, I propose something a little more engaging. How's about the caravan menu has an extra screen that's something of a settlement? Here, you can upgrade your trading outpost with various buildings that bring upgrades to new and existing caravans. These can be as simple as giving every new caravan a certain amount of units, or something to buff their ability on the campaign map, such as ambush defense chance or movement speed. And if you want to go one step further, you can choose from your available caravan units what gets placed into one when it goes out, using a system like Nurgle recruitment or simple unit caps. Either way, I feel like this one will make caravans scale a lot better into the late game and be a lot more engaging all game long, as you can funnel resources into them to make them a whole lot better. In 3rd place we have Tribute to the Dark Gods. I know Norska are getting their DLC soon, so this one is kind of redundant, but if I can't theorize about how to fix the broken pile of bones that is Norsca one last time, then what's even the point? So, one more time for the road. The tribute to the Dark Gods allows Norsca to raise settlements in the name of 4 Dark Gods in exchange for a few rewards. The rewards kinda suck, and if you reach the max tier with any god, you lock yourself out to progress in the others, despite the fact you can easily progress them all at the same time before this. It's basically the predecessor to Daniel's mechanic, and realizing that kinda made me feel a bit sick. My best guess on how this will actually be fixed is that they'll scrap it and add something else, but in the interest of fixing it, let's give it a go. First off, potentially controversial opinion, but I don't think raising settlements in the name of a deity is that bad a concept. I like the Norsca method of taking certain key settlements and raising everything else to the ground, but let's harness this into something more interesting. The settlements you do take act as something similar to herdstones from the Beastmen, where you raise everything around them to power them up. This allows you to perform rituals which increase your dedication to a certain dark god. This unlocks you different tiers of rewards, such as buffs to specific areas of the roster, army abilities, or even unique units. I'm aware how vague that sounds, but you get the gist by this point. Boost the rewards from where they are now, and add some more engaging stuff than simple stat changes. I think just giving them more of a gameplay loop and giving settlements outside of Norsca a lot more importance would change how you play them and make the hunt to find the important ones even more rewarding. Yes, it makes the mechanic a lot more late game, but that means you can have exciting effects all game long, instead of poopy from a bot for 50 turns until you get to the good stuff. In second place, we have loyalty. Loyalty is one of those mechanics that I forget about right up until the precise moment I see a lord with that icon, and I instantly become blind with rage and blood streams from my every orifice. This is a little mechanic whereby your non-legendary lords have a loyalty level. This can go up or down based on winning and losing battles, how big their army is, and some other stuff depending on their traits. If it gets low enough, the army rebels and attacks the nearest thing that belongs to you. So, I kinda hate this because it's just busy work, and it can work one of two ways. Either it never gets low enough, in which case, what's the point in it existing? Or it always gets low because you can't afford to make another army, in which case it's just pouring petrol on the problem. So we need to make it more engaging and actually fair. Well, how's about we instead make it so that their demands are actual demands, and fulfilling them grants rewards. Maybe you have a lord who's a beastmaster, and he demands that his army has at least 5 monster units, and failing to do this results in a decline in loyalty, and success means an increase. At high levels, he brings stat boosts for beast units, and at low levels, he nerfs everything else as punishments. You can still keep the rebellion and other ways to affect it, but as a baseline, everyone has a list of demands to keep them on the straight and narrow. Maybe 2-3 per lord would be enough, as long as they're not just building your army for you. Maybe they can demand a certain hero type, a certain amount of units, and they battle a certain faction regularly. That way you can miss 1 or 2 and still be okay, hence giving you options of what to do. Maybe they can even offer you quests, which you can choose to accept for some loyalty when needed. I don't hate the idea of having this as a mechanic, just make it a lot more engaging rather than being a constant hassle. And in first place, we have the Geomantic Web. The list simply had to be topped by one of the worst mechanics in the game, and the reasons why this one sucks are endless. Barely functional and obscure to work out, as you have to put in so much work to see the slightest amount of benefit. Speaking of which, the benefit is borderline worthless, as it's just some very slightly stronger commandments. Add on the fact that all you do to engage with it is build a single building, and you have one of the worst mechanics in a Total War Warhammer faction, maybe of all time. However, we've talked about this one on the podcast enough times that I have a pretty good idea of how to fix it, and honestly, it could lead to a full-scale lizard rework. So instead of having the web be every single settlement, which makes it laborious and not that interesting, the web instead only works on certain locations across the map. It's kind of like Dark Fortresses, but everywhere that's important to lizards, in the lore I guess. I don't really give a shit about that, just spread it out. Okay, first issue sorted. Now, instead of being a single building, it's another Deeps mechanic where you build the Geomantic Locus or whatever it's called, and this opens up a new set of buildings within these settlements that bring bonuses locally and to the faction as a whole. You can fill it with your standard bonus stuff and then maybe toss in something unique to the lizards, like regular deliveries of blessed spawnings. That kind of fixes 2 other issues of engagement and benefit, but because I'm a generous theory crafter, I'm going to give you a little bit more. As well as the benefits of the buildings in the web settlements, how's about we feed this into the greater Geomantic Web that spans the lizard world? Can keep your commandment buffs and change them and make them a lot better, but your capital settlement can now act as a kind of Oak of Ages, which is powered up over time, unlocking new effects or even abilities for the faction. Maybe army abilities to summon in big space lasers, or campaign abilities to teleport your armies around the map. The lizards have all kinds of wacky tech, so I don't really think much is off limits. This is on the scale of a full rework, so I'm well aware it will likely never happen, but we can dream. And isn't that just as fun? And that's my list, but what do you think is the worst mechanic in Warhammer 3? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and if you want more list videos, then check out this one, all about the most overpowered factions in the game.